everyone, and welcome back to the Wild Digest. I'm Scott. I am back. Woohoo! I was out of state for about a week, a little less than a week. Came back on Sunday, and I've been busy trying to get back up to speed after a trip, but I'm finally here, and I'll probably wind up doing a couple of videos over the next couple of days because I wanted to do one video talking about what I've been reading, sort of a reading update, and also another video about some acquisitions and a little bit about the convention that I was at in Madison, Wisconsin. So the gamers will get a kick out of that amongst you. And but the other stuff should be pretty interesting as well in regards to some of the stuff I picked up at the convention and a few minor acquisitions before and after that I've added to the stacks. But in regards to my reading report, my reading update from the last couple of weeks, actually from the last week, this will be since my last video. Let's start with, and I teased that I was going to be reading all this stuff, so you knew that it was coming. This is this one I read. This is You're All Alone. Pardon the glare on there. It's so shiny. This is You're All Alone by Fritz Leiber, and this is the armchair fiction reprint. The original story was published in 1950 in a pulp magazine. I think it was Fantastic Fiction. Let me see if I've got that on my notes. Yeah, July 1950 issue of Fantastic Adventures. And it is lovingly reproduced in this volume. And this is one of their armchair fiction doubles. So you've got You're All Alone on one side by Fritz Leiber, and on the back side is The Liquid Man. And I already reviewed this one back in Rocket Summer, one of my Rocket Summer videos. So if you're interested in that, go back and check it out. It wasn't a bad read, and I'm looking forward to reading its rewrite that the author did that came out much, much later, back in the late 60s. But let's talk about You're All Alone. Now, I picked this one up, or rather, I selected this one because it's certainly, judging by the cover art, it's certainly presented as a horror story. And The Liquid Man is more or less a horror story as well. It's about a crazed, murderous, mad scientist. So the assumption was that the two volumes here would be horror stories. This is horror, technically. It's certainly horrific in many ways. It's more science fiction, urban fantasy. I'm trying to figure out how I could really classify it, because what it is, and I will warn you right now that I'm going to go into some spoiler territory about this. So you may want to skip ahead to the later in the timeline. Just go to this where you can see right here, and you'll avoid all my spoilers because I'm just going to go for it. This is very much in the vein of the movie Dark City. So if you ever saw that film, you will likely have a sense of that film while reading the book. What it's about is this, our main character, our protagonist, works in an employment agency in New York City. And one day, he notices an unusual relationship between two women outside of his office, one of whom actually smacks the other in the face. It's a little weird. And he becomes sort of instantly fascinated by these two people, especially one of the women he finds very, very attractive. She leaves a note for him, inexplicably. And let's just say, as the story progresses, he begins to find himself sort of slipping in and out of reality, so to speak. That's not a really good way of phrasing this. What we basically find out is that the Earth, the reality that we all know, is this great, and I'm going to use quotes here, this great machine. And we are all just, cogs and wheels in this giant machine. We get up, we, eat, we go to breakfast, or we eat, we go to work. We have friendships. We go out with our, significant others. We get married, we have children, and we die. That's the way this works. It's all part of a mechanical process. And every once in a while, certain individuals awaken from this. and they realize that all this is sort of going on, and they also realize that when they are awakened, they are sort of one step outside. They're no longer in sync with the rest of the great machine. And so Carr, I think his name is Carr. He's our leader. Yeah, Carr McKay. He's our protagonist. He slips into this new awareness and awakens, and he becomes obsessed with a variety of different characters. And you learn as you go on that there are other people who have also awakened and are aware of what's going on. And the book really is an exploration into our morality, in the sense that what if you were suddenly sort of stepped outside of reality, and you could interact with things in that reality, but without any consequence whatsoever. In other words, you could punch someone in the face. You could kill someone. You could do horrific things to somebody. You could damage property. You could steal. You can get away with all of this because no one will really notice you doing it. And so what tends to happen is that certain people who become awakened like this, they lose all their morality and they just go bonkers and start taking advantage of this ability. And so Carr, of course, he's our moral center. And there's another woman that he becomes obsessed with, and he more or less tries to rein her in, even though she's kind of already going down that slope. And then there are some other characters who are absolutely out of control. And then, and this is very much a Dark City thing for me, there are these four characters in long coats with wide brim hats, and whenever they show up, everyone gets scared because they are, my assumption is that they're just so far into this that they've sort of paired up or grouped up, and it's their job to kind of go around and keep things under control, and they will without hesitation kill someone who's been awakened just to clear that person out of the situation. As the story goes on, Carr and I have to look up what her name is. Jane. Easy. Carr and Jane. They finally make a decision that it's possible to sort of slip in and out of these two states. And so they're going to make the best of it. Every once in a while, when they have to, they will, move along with our reality and sort of step back into the machine and, work jobs and make money and do whatever they need to do. And then they can slip back out and go and do all sorts of other crazy stuff. Okay, so a couple other things about it, and that's pretty much how the story wraps up. You'll see on the cover there's this giant green dog. There is a big dog in the story. It's not gigantic. The most hilarious bit of artistic license, and I think I showed this in a previous video. This was a splash page from the magazine, and look, it's like a kaiju-size dog towering over New York City. That never happens. The dog is normal sized. There's also a cat in the story at one point, and I'm going to read you the sort of 12 rules that Jane tells Carr he needs to obey in order to successfully get away with being awakened in this alternate. It's almost like phasing, I guess. But anyway, always keep up appearances. The idea there is that if you look like you're still part of the machine, no one will mess with you if they're already awakened. Always be doing something just to keep active, to look like you're still part of the machine. Always be first or last. That one is a little questionable. Always be alone. Because if you are awakened, the last thing they want to do is see you sort of paired up with others and getting away with nonsense. So the more that you can be on your own, the less you will stand out to anyone who might be looking for somebody who's awakened. Always have a route of escape. Never hesitate or you're lost. Never do anything odd. It wouldn't be noticed. I don't know that phrasing of it wouldn't be noticed, but just never do anything odd. Never move things. It makes gaps. That one is kind of, even she stretches that a little bit. Never touch anyone. Although, again, you have these other sort of immoral awakened characters who completely ignore that rule. And even in unpleasant, unacceptable ways. Never run. They're faster. This is more in regards to the four guys with the hats who tend to break necks. Never look at a stranger. It might be one of them. So you kind of just keep your head down and mind your own business. And then the last one was some animals are really alive. Speaking of, my cat's meowing in the background inexplicably. I don't know why. So those are like the rules that you're supposed to follow if you're awakened in order to survive. Fascinating stuff. I will just say that I absolutely love this book. It's a definite 5 out of 5. I am curious because I understand there's a weird sort of publishing history with this one. There's this particular edition that came out in the magazine, and then later a long form version of it was published. But the publisher there was some little weird thing, a loophole, I guess, in the contract that allowed them to bring in another writer and sort of sex it up a little bit more. And so what I've read online is there's like one sex scene in here, and there's no sex scene. It's basically they come together, they're in the dark, and then the next thing is he's like making coffee. So it's kind of like just glossed over. But apparently this other edition was changed up, and I think it was retitled The Sinful Ones. So they went sort of exploitative with that. Leiber didn't much care for that. He later came back in and rewrote those questionable scenes so that they're still there, but they're handled in his own way. He sort of updates them. Not sure if I'll ever read that particular edition, but I certainly enjoyed reading this reprint of the original edition from 1950. You're All Alone. Thumbs up for me for sure. After that, I dove into my Library of America edition of the Lovecraft Tales, and I read The Dreams in the Witch House and oh gosh, I always forget their name, guys. It's the EEBS. Anyway, they just did a video, a live stream this morning talking about this. And it was a great stream. Really, they dug into the story quite a bit. I love this story. I've read it before. This probably maybe is my third or fourth time, I think. But it's a good Lovecraft tale. It's not long. I can criticize it, but I think it's a solid Lovecraft story that's been more or less poorly adapted anytime it's been dramatized. Anyway, anytime it's been turned into a TV show or a film, they've more or less gotten it wrong. But it's really, really excellent. I would definitely recommend you read that. If you haven't read any Lovecraft at all, it's not a bad one to dive into. Next up, and I read this while I was out of town, is Ellen O's Spirit Hunters. And this is a middle grade ghost story, not particularly thick. And this one popped up on my radar because I don't even know where I was looking. I don't think it was Amazon. It might have been another site. And it was one of those, if you enjoyed this, you will enjoy these or these other books. And in this particular case, if I remember correctly, it was if you enjoyed Pine Box Middle School, which is the role-playing game I wrote, you'll enjoy these books. And there were a few there, and I wrote them all down, put them on a list. And when I read the descriptions of the Spirit Hunters series, I ordered the first 3. Technically, there are only 3 right now. The third book came out in 2022. So I don't know if Ellen is working on a new one, but it's possible that one may drop. So keep your eyes out for that. Spirit Hunters, the very first volume. There's no subtitle on this. It's just Spirit Hunters. It's about this girl, Harper Rain. And there, on the surface, this is a book that is... it contains a lot of material that one might say is not altogether original. You've got a young kid who can see ghosts. Okay, where have we seen that before? I see dead people. So that part of it is not that original. However, it's handled really, really well, because Harper, and when I say well, I mean in a very mature, fascinating way. Harper has gone through her life so far in a confused state. There's a lot of stuff that is unanswered. There are a lot of questions about her life so far. She was put in a special care facility. For people believed that she tried to burn a school down. She's been accused of self-harm. All sorts of things like that. And so she really has no idea what's going on in her life, kind of directionless, doesn't have a lot of friends. Like, her closest friend was her therapist. That's awfully sad. And so she and her family move to Washington, D.C. And when they get there, they move into this crazy old house. And a lot of weird stuff starts happening. And again, spoiler alert. I'm not going to spoil everything here, but what winds up happening is that there is a spirit, maybe two, that are trying to possess her little brother. And that alone is pretty dark stuff. And she has to figure out how to fight this thing to save her brother. And when you even go into the story as to what these spirits or entities are, it's grim stuff. Not good. Not good at all. We're talking about some pretty evil elements in the story. You also deal with Harper's grandmother, her mother's mother, and there's sort of an estranged relationship there where her mother and the grandmother aren't really on speaking terms at all, although Harper and her brother and older sister really care about their grandmother, and she's local. I think she lives in Maryland, so she's not particularly far away, and they want to meet up with her, but the mother just keeps saying, "Oh, that's not going to happen," and gets in the way of that happening. It does eventually happen, and we learn a lot thanks to the grandmother. It was a quick read. I whipped through it, and I really, really enjoyed the heck out of this book. As a middle grade book, it pulls no punches, and it's pretty good stuff. I enjoyed it so much, like I say, that I originally ordered all three of them, but I thought, well, we'll see how it goes after I read the first. I could always get rid of the other two if I didn't much care for this, but I'm ready to sort of roll right into book 2, which is The Island of Monsters. And I've got this one on standby, probably read it in November, so after all the Halloween reading that I have lined up, but Spirit Hunters definitely, as a middle grade horror book, gets a 5 out of 5 from me as well. I do want to thank everyone who has thus far watched and liked and commented on my readings from this book, Nightmares, Poems to Trouble Your Sleep by Jack Prelutsky. I've had a really, really fun time putting those videos together. There are 5 of them. 3 have already dropped. The Haunted House, The Werewolf, and The Witch. Yeah, not in that order. And this Friday, as I record this, you will see The Vampire, and we're going to wrap up the month with The Ghoul, which will drop on Halloween, because Halloween's on Friday. The 31st is a Friday, so very exciting. I will point out ahead of time, I put a little bit of a trigger warning on The Ghoul. When I produced it, I wasn't really even thinking, but it does contain some pretty over the top elements, and I mean, I did nothing to the text. It's just and so Prelutsky wrote a pretty crazy poem, and it could be triggering for some people. I'm just being perfectly above board about this. So just take a look at the description when it drops. I kind of list some of the things that are in there that might be potentially an issue with certain people. So watch for that. Let's see. I'm just grabbing stuff off the stack. I did say that I wanted to read Surrogate Child before the end of the month. This is Andrew Niederman, who also wrote Pin. This is a chonker. Well, it's not really a chonker. It's about 300, less than 300 pages. I still am hoping to get to this. Right now, I'm in the middle of reading The Haunted Strangler. And I say about 40 pages into that. That was one that I teased in my October TBR. And I have already watched the movie. The plan was watch the movie, read the novelization. I've watched the movie. It's a good film. If you've never seen The Haunted Strangler with Boris Karloff, track it down. There are pretty ragged copies on YouTube that you can go and watch. But I think there's a nicer version out there, a remastered one. I'm not sure, but it's maybe something I'll track down because I quite like the film. Karloff is masterful in it. He does something with his face in certain scenes later in the picture, and without makeup, and it's astounding. But good film. So far, the book is beat for beat a straight novelization. But we'll see if the author, who I think is also the screenwriter, goes off on any weird tangents and explores some other territory. Because there's certainly a potential for it in the film, where they sort of do cutaways, and you wonder, I wonder if that went a little further or whatever. But haven't gotten to that yet. Like I say, I'm only about 40 pages into the book, and so far it's a beat for beat copy. So I'm going to finish The Haunted Strangler. It's not long. I probably will get that one done in the next day or so. And then the plan is to then go into Surrogate Child. So I should be able to get this done by the end of the month, and that will be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm going to pause there because I do have some stuff I picked up while I was in Madison, as well as a few additional books that I was going to talk about, and I'll hold off and show you those in another video. So for now, that is my reading report thus far. We're currently in technically the 4th week, so this is sort of a review of my the first 3 weeks. I guess no, it'd just be a review of last week. Who am I talking about? What am I talking about? So that's it for this particular reading update, and I will drop another video hopefully soon to talk about some of my new acquisitions. It's not really a haul. There's only about 6 or 7 books, so it's kind of a mini haul, but we'll talk about those later on. So once again, please like, subscribe, share, and I will see you in the next video.